Beloved star, warmest welcome to Immortal Star Pod, episode 61. Funnily enough, I had a dream about this pod a while ago, and the sense that Immortal Star Pod 61 was really significant, almost as though I'd already created it. And I've just taken a deep pause. I've finished 22 weeks of creating the new Elven writing program, and it's the most incredible sense of fulfillment, of accomplishment, one of those crystallized creations of the dawn. And so this week I've taken a bit of a breath, and the guidance that came in was to share what came through in Lapland in 2017 of White Reindeer Woman, and the deep process of soul star remembrance, of ancient wisdom, and my own embodied earthwalk in another lifetime that came through during that trip. It changed my whole life. And this and then I sat with this afterwards, and I thought, well, I love to share the absolutely current crystalline ascension energies, and to share this, and am I just opting out sharing that? But it's really come back in again, and I found myself looking back through those notes, what I wrote during that time. I'm going to share it with you now. And it's something of a stream of consciousness, or impressionistic, but so many deep crystalline keys landed during that time. And with this Star Magnolia Moon and the process, as I've shared in all the succeeding pods of the Star Magnolia Moon that we're just coming to the end of now, that this has been the moon of the aura and the recreation of the auric field for this solar cycle of our ascension on Earth. And for myself, that has been the most monumental reweaving of energetics that has re-established both my auric boundary line, the periphery of my energetic field, and also the relationship of that periphery, that boundary, to the center, to core presence, and that vertical column of the energetic light centers. And so with this process, what's always fascinating is I often witness the pure energetics, but then paying attention to how that plays out within life, what that means. And often there can be an interval with these lighted energetics where one loses awareness or clarity, because it's phasing through to expression at levels that are not simply those pure metaphysics, but that are the out patterning, how that becomes and expresses as the hologram of our lives. So in a way, it's a bit like, for me, like sitting on the edge of my seat watching what is happening to my reality now. And I would say for the final phase of this moon, what I'm really noticing is this vast calling back of power. And that makes so much sense to me as I witness the recreation of the aura through this moon, because once that bound becomes resealed, if you like, crystalline, once that bound is once again crystalline, there is a vast calling back of any lost power and energy, those gaps or leaks in the auric field, or where there's been deep field projections of our light extended beyond ourselves, resolves, and instead that power is called back. And over the last years of my own ascension process, especially the last 7 years, there has been, ever since, and especially in 2017, this gifting of massive keys of remembrance, crystalline return, very much like that walk-in energy of this absolutely as such crystalline differentiation, the self arriving back from the self that I thought I was, and yet somehow so known. And as our crystalline codes restore, as we return to crystalline, immortal soul star presence, so much of our ancient wisdom comes back to us. These deep records, everything within us that in any world dimension, timeline, and especially pertinent our earth walks, that we have realized that consciousness of love, that higher dimensional consciousness, fifth dimensional and beyond, that if you like, as that is realized within that expression, it translocates and is restored within the mandala of the soul star, the celestial mandala of the soul star. So as we return to soul star consciousness, the consciousness of our Christ light, our crystalline light, the love, the source consciousness that we are, we get access to all of those records, all of that wisdom. And that's what I share within Elven Aurora, because that celestial soul star mandala is constantly spinning, moving, and delivering to us more and more of the deep record of who we are and the very real and realized wisdom. And not to draw from that, not to access that, not to unlock that, is to waste the most vast, vast resource of that which we are. And one of the great human illusions is that we're not enough. We need to draw in information, wisdom, knowledge, all of this from outside of ourselves, from others. And in fact, that simply, I mean, when we do that, there are sources to which we're drawn. And it's, yes, that is a teacher. That is someone with whom there is resonance, and there is a delivery and a restoration of your own core knowing through that encounter. That's part of the beauty of our holographic field of interconnection. So I don't disdain that receiving of information from outside of ourselves, as it were, altogether. But there's a very different spirit to being drawn through the resonance within your own soul star stream to a source or a person who deepens, activates, unlocks those codes within you, and the quest for knowledge out of the sense that one is somehow empty or lacking or insufficient. And so this crystalline vibration that we are returning to as we reach this light quotient, and that is realized and attained in ourselves evermore, 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 what happens is more and more of that record of ancient timeless wisdom, remembrance within our soul star is delivered through us, becomes accessible. But we do need to be in that relationship to ourselves, questing into the light that we are, and spending that time in that connection so that that incredible resource can gift itself. And of course, one of the ways that happens is by following the callings of our soul. When we are guided, there are lands we're guided to go to, journeys we're called to make, people we're called to meet. And in those moments, there is massive activation. It's as though it comes fully online, some aspect of our own soul star, ancient wisdom, deeper knowing is activated within core presence. And it changes everything. It changes everything. We suddenly have deep clarity of what we're here to bring and who we are. And so with the aura, so as I say, I've experienced in the last 7 years, especially since 2017, this restoration of many of these deep crystalline stores of knowing and wisdom within my own multidimensional essence and soul star. As with so many of us, this is what we're experiencing. But now what it feels with this auric moon is though so much of that is literally being drawn closer, as though it's been in a very vast field of light. And there's been this drawing in of power, especially through this last wave, which the Elven is speaking of as the celestial moon power of the aura, if you like, when that lunar aspect of the self, or that inner aspect of our energy that draws in, actually calls back in, if you like, that we, in that first phase of energy, and say, if you look at it as the moon cycle, when that moon starts to receive the solar light again and starts to project it out, that we begin to, at the beginning of any cycle, we project our light out again. We give expression to the dreaming within us, and it unfurls, it begins to place itself, and we find ourselves walking that timeline. But within every cycle, there is actually, and that establishes, if you like, as the hologram of the aura, then we're walking this holographic field of the aura that literally creates the reality, the perceptual reality that we experience, that's been generated from within our core, projected forth as the auric field. And as that cycle completes, that actually our energy very naturally feels called away from that projective mode to call back its power, draw in its power, to remember ourselves as that sacred and unconditioned dreamer. And that we are not the one, if you like, lost walking in the dream. We are the dreamer with the power to project, to create an entire reality. And if we allow that call back to happen into our core, that moon power of the aura, which is there, it's there within the pulses and the natural elder tides of the auric field, that it wishes to project forth, but equally to pull in. And when those the natural harmonic of those tides within you are allowed to express at the moment that they do, when you're called to come back to you, to your center, that's when your dreaming power, your sovereignty, that deep sovereignty of immortal starlight soul star presence, that we are that infinite, quantum, endlessly, literally resourceful being, super abundant, that infinite power to create and to dream, that state is held in balance, is remembered within. We don't, if we don't answer that call to come back, that tidal pull back within, what happens is we start to be lost in our dream. So when that feeling of disempowerment can start happening, so one is lost, wandering, feeling that the reality you're in has some ultimate reality over you, and that it's required that you respond to that. So we get inverted within our hologram, lost within our own projection, as it were. And in the elven way, it is so honored, so beautiful to dream, that we dream a reality into being, that we do project, we create as part of our divine capacity and the joy of our eternal, infinite, immortal starlight souls and of source itself, create the many realms, unutterably beautiful, but not to get stuck, not to get lost within our creation, and to heed that pull when it comes, that call back to that unconditioned and immortal starlight energy within your core. And so then the power begins to build, that it's called back. The power of all that we are is called back within, and we get to ask the really powerful questions. What would I love to dream? What would I love to create? And while I've talked a lot through this moon of the solar cycle of the year, at this moment I'm referring to a more localized rhythm, more like the lunar rhythm. That's one of the rhythms that repeats at this level, but it's happening even within every day, if you like, this need of this movement within and without, which is how we don't, that's where we don't get burnt out, literally burnt out on our creations, lost, burnt out, scattered into them. You know, we get sort of, as that creator soul, get overstimulated or overexcited and lost in our creation. When we have that honoring of that tidal pull back within on a more immediate and localized scale continuously, then we remain deeply sovereign unto our creation, watching it in wonder, but also unattached, and really able to settle back within again, call in our power, all of our aspects, and to decide, what is it I would love to dream again? So in many ways, this is how our energy remains pristine. We have that incredible pristine moment of the solstice at 21st of December, that awareness, oh my goodness, a new dream seed of light, cosmic source instructions seeding themselves again. It's an amazing sense, that breath of new beginnings, the sense of freedom, of sovereignty, of our immortal starlight quantum nature, dreaming reality into being, the state of infinite potentiality. But in truth, that is a state we can re-access, we return to over and over and over again. That beginning is always with us. So, gosh, and I said I was going to share and read the Lapland writings. So, and I've shared a goodly while already with this. So this is the last phase of this Auric moon of the Star Magnolia, and then we shift next moon into the Primrose Moon and the light of the Ostara Stargate. So really beautiful energies to come. And within the next pod, I'll share about the shift point and what are the energies of this next moon it'll be its whole own wave of light, colored by its own radiance and medicine. But yes, I would love to share. So if you'd love to walk with me with this, I'm going to follow through on this dream pulse image, because I realize part of what's happened for me is that what happened in 2017 is really in some ways just beginning to deeply activate within me now. That ever since there's been an almighty process that allows me to spiral back to this beginning of this crystalline source, ancient wisdom within my soul star, and to begin to really activate as this one. And as I read this, you'll get the sense of what that is. And it's very much the light of the golden wheel, of all that I've been speaking of with the golden wheel and what's within this. But yeah, and with this, my hope would be, she rambles on a bit further, that it's I feel this probably speaks to so many of your own process of this remembrance. And it's so tender and extraordinary. And maybe we wonder, did I dream this? That questioning, and that feels so core to me, that we can question and doubt our remembrance and even this incredibly powerful experience. There is for me a core integration. Where do I stand with this in my being? Where is my alignment in all of my levels of deepest comprehension and integrity at the profoundest levels of light and creation and design within my being? And so I hope this supports you and amplifies your own ancient wisdom and remembrance, what you're holding, to actually, call and pull back that power and deepen into that, because these facets of us long to keep speaking and reveal so much more. I always say we're just at the beginning of sharing what they are gifting through us. I say they, but they are us. This is who we are and why we have come at this time. So you may wish to just, sit back and listen to this. It's quite impressionistic as I read. So Lapland, kayaking expedition, August 2017. I wanted to share the long and rambling account of my time in Lapland that has been more deeply life-changing and inspiring than I can give words to. Its beauty and gifts and revelations still dancing through me. Rain, pine smoke, crowberry flowers, harebells, Siberian jay, rosebay willow herb, magenta spires, pine and birch, yarrow. Waters like darkest sapphire, skies of cloud, a horizon of forest. Following the waterways of the great lake, Lake Inari. A reindeer bounding through the trees, disappearing. Darkest sapphire waters become heavy and rippled with wind. Star of the sea, like an incantation through my mind over and over again, shedding the small self like a dark cobweb so long wound around the brightest light. Darkly beautiful sapphire water, the lake reveals herself as a Syrian star goddess, long landed, transmuted into her great watery form here in Lapland, rising up ancient beautiful star codes. It is time. It is almost time. Elven, star of earth, awakened star souls who choose to come here. Sapphire star waters, under clouded skies, shores of pine forest, darkly blackening emerald, birches blowing granite pink with quartz seams, crowberries. Swan wings stretch out wide, star of the sea. The kayaks glide across rippled, dark waters. I feel a silver star at my core, connecting to the land and sky as I paddle over the waters. I feel myself becoming the swan, the fierce beating of wide wings, a radiance and transfiguration. Warmth of a fire under a sun that only fades but doesn't disappear. burning birch, pine cones, needles. Light fading into dim light. Soft greys close to midnight. Pine cones turn to ember and ash. It is as though winged my higher self ignites, spiraling mighty under the clouds like a tornado of peace arriving. Silver, wild water, fading with the midnight sun and billowing pale grey sky. Moths, white, dun, sudden on the water by the paddles. Star song to the lake, singing to the lost star codes, singing of the willingness to awaken the memories of the elven ones, the people of the swan. Upon the lichen and grey rocks, placing the white deerskin of the silver wheel, dancing, and I can see the dance of arrival of a soul that has been long gone, far away and lost to the remembrance of who she is for many a long age. As the purity of remembrance becomes gradually dusty and faded over hundreds of years, like a faded photograph, like an echo that sounds every so often in the soul, and is just as suddenly done. Yet, now it returns, crisp and clear as yesterday. The tent of reindeer skin, shape of a teepee, a kota, and within, the stored treasures of shamanic lifetimes. Long ago I set forth, knowing that I would return, knowing that I would come to recover them, a time capsule. And I would come to this place at the beginning of the next age, when the cosmic stargates were ready to be opened, and the intergalactic Earth be made accessible, reconstruct herself once more. Like a beautiful mansion long abandoned, its furniture and magic archways shrouded, now its shutters being thrown open to the light. And those who are ready shall come, to see the magic sigils flaming above the magic doors, to remember who they are and why they are here. Those who wish to remember a reality founded in light, to return to the pure love that they are. I see her donning the reindeer fur cloak, the ruff settling around her shoulders, tawny and cream her dreaming robes. Harebells and yarrow, gauzy spires of the long grasses, silver bright sheen on the still waters. And clambering from the kayak to tread through the pines to a first vision of the reindeer grazing, remembering her form, fair and elven, white cloak, long limbs, the white starlight shimmering deep within, fair and gentle, yet an endless strength, a connection to the wind, earth, fire and waters. In prayer, she knows what she is born to and the passage she makes, she must make. The Siberian jay diving from the pines to the ground amongst the reindeer. Calves pursuing their mothers for milk, gangly-legged, angular antlers just forming and growing, blunt and soft-edged, the thud of their hooves a dull clump through the forest, among the quiet of the pines and the grey stones like a tumbled sanctuary, reindeer paths winding through, crossing one another. Remember that you are Starlight, and here to create something infinitely beautiful. Cloud breeze on the island, globules of sunset, sunrise, a brilliant peach colour in the moss, red moss. Silver birch pollen on the waters as we return from the far place. The barges travel home laden with treasure from the other world, landing here the star of love, amber dust, gold dust, thanksgiving. The new earth is an otherworldly earth, a parallel earth whose ground we can sink into. Another way of being upon the earth, another earth to be with. We can live here, permanently anchored, and we ourselves become a part of its sacred architecture, a portal, a gateway through which others may pass to this new order of existence. Somewhere far on Lake Inari in the north of Finnish Lapland, I am still there on the waters, called by a white starlight remembrance, so poignant and exact, it takes my breath away and holds me spellbound. Who comes back from this? Who returns? I feel I know with greater certainty who I am. There is a return to the beginning, an understanding of all the journeys it has taken to come to this, to reach this place. I stand outside the tent of reindeer skin, a kota, and within the stored treasures. I set forth so long, long ago, knowing that I would return. I knew that one day, many lifetimes hence, I would come back. My hand would touch the bark of the pine. I would see the red moss and the sunrise fire of cloudberries, and I would remember. It is a remembrance so exact, like walking in my own footprints, that it sears the heart. Within sudden and complete knowing, I know who I am, and who I have been, and the simplicity of one great overarching love and intention that has spanned lifetimes. I knew that I would come to recover them. This is a time capsule long held. I knew I would come back at the beginning of the next age, when the cosmic stargates were ready to be opened again, and the intergalactic Earth be made accessible, reconstruct herself once more, like a beautiful mansion, long abandoned, its magic archways shrouded, now being opened to the light. This intergalactic Earth, this new Earth, is a parallel ground on which we can choose to stand. And I recognize the clarity of the journey and how the soul has known, always known, of these great cycles of forgetfulness and remembrance. The gradual fading from the great starlight ages of the earth, how reality has subtly and inexorably altered over great spans of time, and how the soul and every incarnational expression has so altered also, and how the shamanic lifetimes are woven as an expression of this alteration, as pathways for the shining remembrance, for the shining codes that were created. And so the ceremonies, the initiations have taken place that restore the soul to remembrance of its overarching purpose, of its intention to keep weaving the intergalactic earth, to keep connecting the people to the greater star reality, to hold the alignment, the grace of balance, even in times of deep forgetfulness, through the density of the veils. There is a vow to remember oneself as a soul from the stars, and as one who has known elven embodiment, shining embodiment, the white starlight codes of an old purity that has walked the earth, that has understood and known her essence from earliest times. She holds her alignment with the original star council, with all that is intended and dreamt for this beautiful realm, this beautiful planet. She knows the vow of all that the earth might become, the dream of the earth, the true dream of the earth, and how we have striven to remember the white starlight codes for the earth, the swan feathers of the shining light body, how we have sought to preserve the pathways of their activation so that once again we could become all that we are. And now there is something stirring, a new age, when the swan feathers of remembrance tumble around us, and so much is gifted, so that the pathways of return become differently crafted, more immediate. There is the stirring of white starlight, ancient Andromedan codes crafted in another galaxy. Something incredibly ancient, delicate, beautiful is stirring, a deeper layer than has ever been accessed before. Delicate, old, planetary structures of light that have been before and shall be again. If I travel very deep within, I can feel it. A place where the old realms interfuse and meet. Old and beautiful dragons are awakening. Something stirring that has been so long asleep, interfused with bright white starlight codes. Something that has been sleeping for so long is awakening. This is my vision quest and wilderness adventure to finish Lapland with Chris Luttichai, 10 days of kayaking and hiking and camping in August 2017. So these words spoken and shared as guided for Immortal Starpod episode 61, may they have served as an evocation also of your own crystalline source codes, this extraordinary record of wisdom that you are carrying, that you are for the dawn. There is so much within us. May we still into, dance into, activate, hold with strength, power, wisdom, grace, and light, the deep ripples of these codes, this wisdom that we are carrying, holding. And so with all blessings and love of this Star Magnolia Moon as it moves into its last phase of completion, do take care of yourself through this waning and final phase of the moon cycle, coming within, nurturing, dreaming, taking care of yourself. So much love, and I shall see you soon. Farewell for now.